Author's point of view. Wrapping your hands and rubbing your shoulders, you attempted to keep your body warm, but it was next to impossible. It has been 8 hours since you have been standing under the shower. Out. The door screeched open and a velvety voice commanded you. It was Jungkook. His voice was enough to make you shudder in fear. Gulping your aching throat, you unwrapped your hands and attempted to move. Your attempt was of no success. You stumbled as your legs were numb from pain. Blind. His fingers dug into your wrist, and the intense grip shot a wave of pain to your arm. Please. Gently placing your hand on his grip, you stuttered. But did he care? No. Bringing you inside his room, he shoved your hand before continuing. Confess the crime already. Which crime? I don't know what he wants me to confess. What have I done? Why is he torturing me like this? Thousands of thoughts occupied your brain, and you had no courage to ask him. Not at least after the day he had raised his hand against you. You were indeed scared of him. While you were scrolling through the questions in your head, Jungkook in meantime was thoroughly staring at you. His red bloodshot eyes were dropping, analyzing every inch of your skin, which was striking his not so holy eyes. His eyes held lust. The innocence of your eyes, which were taming the beast in him till this day, was now awakening his beast. He didn't wish to believe you were innocent in any way round. Clothes off, on your knees. He commanded, earning tears from your eyes. He will hit me like Miss Bianca did. You asked yourself with widened eyes, or more of stated, believing he was going to beat you as the lady in your orphanage did. So innocent of you to think this. You had no clue of his intentions. You were the epitome of innocence. You were just a knave-blind girl, which was far from unholy things. You were filled with purity. I am sorry. You apologized even when you had no clue of what wrong you have done to him to treat you this brutally. Have you also lost the capacity to hear? Naked. That's what I said. On your knees right now. He commanded in an extremely calm voice, and you had no option. At least not after you came to know who he was, a mafia. Locking your eyes shut, you managed to take a step toward his masculine aroma. Feeling yourself under his gaze, your wobbly hands searched for the zipper. Getting a hold of the zip, you unzipped your dress and it fell to the ground. Next, you reached for the hook of your upper undergarment, unhooking it, and you dropped it on the ground. Your was now bare in front of his hungry eyes, soft, creamy, like that of a goddess. He didn't have any control now. He wanted to ravish you, kiss every inch of you, hear you moaning his name, your soft whimpers when he thrust in you, deep in you. Your were next in line, the only piece of cloth that covered your down pretty feminine part, but your hands didn't work to get that triangle piece of cloth off your body, as Miss Bianca never asked you to get that piece of cloth off you, and you believed he won't need that too. By now, you were on your knees, eyes slightly sunken, tears on the edge to fall, but keeping them all in your eyes, you seek permission. Am I allowed to cry, sir? In past, you had to seek permission to cry from Miss Bianca, or else she could double your punishment. You believed to ask Jungkook as well, cause now he seemed more horrifying than Miss Bianca was to you. You were waiting for him to whip you until you lose consciousness, as well as one part of your heart wished for him to be back. The Jungkook you first met a month ago, a person you thought was a normal human, the first human who helped you. You wished to not learn the truth that he was a mafia, he was vicious, he was Satan in a human skin. 1 month ago. The darkness was shattered all over the sky. The moon was full, with a light red tint. The stars which were occupying the sky were adding to the beauty of the night. The darkness was beautiful in a way, but for you, it was horrifying. The night wasn't the one to bring dark to you. Rather, your eyes did it for you. You were blind, a blind innocent girl who had no clue where you were heading. Exhausting your lungs, you ran for your life. The little moist sand under your bare foot made you realize that you were far away from the city by now. Halting, resting your hand on your thumping heart, you crouched in an alley that was thin like a tube. Found the bitch! A manly voice echoed from the end of the alley. Struggling, picking up your strengthless body, you ran in the opposite direction of the sound. You were tired, your breaths were irregular, the nerves were thumping in your brain, and your knees were bleeding. All this didn't lead you to stop as you were running for your life, or might be running from your life. Where the f did you disappear? A man roared, gritting his teeth, and hiding, you covered your mouth, sitting glued to the chilly rough wall. Find her. The boss will kill us if we fail again. Another man spoke, who had a knife in his hand, and soon both of them disappeared. You stayed there for a few minutes, still trying to calm yourself. When your body is relaxed, you were able to inhale the fresh, cool water droplets in the air. You knew you were in a backyard of someone's home, and your growling stomach made it difficult for you to leave without asking the owner of the house to lend your aid or help. Were you a beggar? No. You were just a girl who was far away from her home and had no clue where she was. Wiping off the sweat droplets, you dusted your palms, feeling them dirty from the mud. But before you could step in more to ask for help, gunshots made you drop on the ground. Your cracked scream broke the hush of the night, and even before you could think clearly, your hands were clutched by someone. They dragged you as you resisted them, wiggling your fragile body while screaming. They brought you inside the manor, which you believed was a house. Pushing you down on the concrete floor, the man in blue tuxedo approached the man sitting on the swivel chair. Mumbling in the man's ear, who was settled on the swivel chair, the guy in blue tuxedo stepped back. The chair swelled, uncovering the face of the man who was sitting on the chair. It was the Jungkook. His face was covered with tiny droplets of blood, and a single droplet rested right above the piercing on his lips. The piercing above the lip wasn't all. There were multiple piercings on his ears and above his right eyebrow. One simply looking at his piercings and tattoos that covered his knuckles, arms, and neck could freak out completely. But it was entirely different for you, as you couldn't see. Yet, it didn't mean you couldn't feel anything. You could feel yourself drowning under his deep stares. The expensive cigarette between his veiny index and middle finger was giving you a hint of his presence. Who are you? His velvety voice made you gulp the lump in your throat before you answered with your head so low that it was even impossible to get a glimpse of your face. I am one. Your delicate, stuttering voice was enough to make him curious to question you again after taking a step closer to your tiny, trembling body. Who sent you? You were bewildered. His question didn't make any sense to you. All you believed was that the man questioning you was the owner of the house you were in, and he might have asked his guards to bring you to him when he confused you for being a thief. But this wasn't the case. The gun was shot by this very man and not by the men who were tracking you. The reality was unknown to you. I cautioned you. He squatted near you. His breath was fanning your nose, and the rich muscadine aroma mixed with the coffee vanilla filled your lungs before you shot your eyes toward the source of the voice. I'm sorry. I'm not a thief. I wasn't here to steal anything. I was being followed by. Your face was an inch away from his, The face he was curious to take a glimpse of was now naked in front of his eyes, and the way your lips moved, explaining harshly, his eyes rested on your lips. He wished to suck the life out of your pink plump lips. Those doe eyes were next to capture his attention. When you paused, lost in your thoughts, your eyes seemed filled with innocence and purity. Even your dirty mud-covered body was pleasing to his eyes. Your everything was awakening the beast in him. He wished to pick you, carry to his room, tie you with chain, and ravish every inch of you immensely until he was content. And his other intuitive thought commanded him to take you then and there. By who? Taking a hold of his beast, he completed when he found you hesitating to continue. That he's bad. He. Your words muffled in your little sobbing, and he smirked, seeing how fragile you were. Water, he commanded. In the very next instant, the guy in the blue tuxedo passed him a crystal glass. Have it. He offered the glass of water to you, and you, pulling your hand upward, attempted to grab the glass. It was the second attempt that was successful in making you take a hold of the glass, and your actions struck his eyes. With a slight squeeze on his thoughts, he realized you were blind. Waving his hand in front of your eyes, he confirmed it and snickered at his folly. How could he not figure it out when he saw you looking at his face? Any girl, or precisely any human, could be intimidated just by a single glance at his face. But you were not scared, hence you must have been blind. Blind or not, he didn't care. He just wanted to have you by his side, in his arms. He wasn't planning to let you go, now or ever. Your innocence was his to ruin. Thank you. Gulping the whole glass of water, you held it as a baby does in the firm grip of both hands. Grinning, he took the glass away from your hands and passed it to the man standing beside him. Looking back at your face, his eyes again fell on your now moist lips. He cursed, losing control and holding your hand in his before he tugged you up towards himself. Can I please stay here for a night? I'll leave as soon as the sun rises. He requested, thinking he was going to drag you out of his house, but you were unknown of the fact that he wasn't even letting you go, and your requesting him willingly just made his work easier. The lamb ventured into the lion's territory. This thought was enough to satisfy him. Sure. He nodded, and you sighed, feeling safe. Though his aura gives you a sense of fear, yet you unknowingly felt like you were safe around him. Extreme innocent of you to think that. Let me guide you to your room. Shoving off the cigarette, he tucked the gun into his waist. Holding onto your hand, he pulled you with himself, and you followed him like a lost puppy. You entered a room that had a different fragrance and aura. It smelled like a patchouli and sandalwood mixed with spicy and sweet notes. Does someone live in this room? You wondered as you were guided and settled on the fluffy bed. Feeling yourself observed in the soft mattress, you touched it, feeling overwhelmed, as it was the first time you got to sit on a bed in your entire life. The only thought going through your mind was food. You didn't have a single penny to buy yourself a whole square meal for the past 2 days. I'm hungry. Can you? Gathering your courage, you attempted to ask him, but your words broke as you flinched when you felt his hand under your chin, while his thumb played with the mole on your lower lip, and he continued halting you. I do indeed feel hungry. Give me a taste of your lips, doll.